Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hospitality News Network. I'm your indelible host, Adrian Przowski. Well, today, as you can see, I'm wearing a mask, and that's because I just got back from doing a little bit of grocery shopping. And as I was standing in line, I started thinking about what's going on under these masks. You see a lot of people wearing them today. Are they smiling? And if so, what kind of a smile do they have? Is it a bright, happy smile? Or maybe it's more of a tentative, I'm not so sure smile. Or is it a lovely mustachioed smile? And that kind of got me thinking about customer service in these days. With everybody wearing masks, we have not really got the opportunity to see what people are doing under their masks. So service without a smile, is that what it's come down to? So I decided to give our good friend Jane, who's the Corporate Director of Talent and Learning Development over at Larco Hospitality, a call with some questions on this subject. Take a look. See what you think. Well, thanks. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me this morning and answer these questions that I have for you. Just before we get started, I thought it'd be great if you just told us a little bit about yourself, so those of us out there who don't know you.
Okay. Well, I've been in the hospitality industry, particularly in hotels, for close to 25 years. And I'm the corporate director of talent and learning for Larco Hospitality. And Larco Hospitality is a management company. We manage hotels under various brands, such as Marriott, Sheraton, Hilton, JW. We're also the owners of the new W Hotel that's coming up here in Toronto. Okay. So I've been with Larco for close to 6 years, and my main function with Larco is spending some time with the leadership teams and talking about leadership and how to engage your staff. I do quite a bit of training with the front line as well on how to give great service, which I'm very passionate about because a lot of my background started off in the front line. And I actually got into hotels by accident and realized I love it, And so I've worked in various frontline positions way back in the day. Housekeeping, I've served tables. I was a front desk agent for 5 years before I became a trainer with a company that I was with, Fairmont Hotels and Resorts. And so with Larco for 6 years, but prior to that, I was living overseas. And with Fairmont, I was fortunate enough to travel to some great properties across Canada. I worked at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. I was fortunate to be part of the opening team there. And also I was the director of learning in Bermuda and opened the Savoy in London. And then after the Plaza in New York, my husband and I moved to the Middle East, and I worked at the Fairmont Abu Dhabi as the assistant director of HR, took care of the training aspect of the hotel as well, and then opened up the Fairmont Palm in Dubai. So very exciting, just being able to travel to different countries and meet people from all over the world and to work in an industry that I absolutely love.
We know the industry is customer service driven.
Yes.
With everything that is going on right now with the pandemic, how does it reimagine customer service behind a mask? Or service without a smile, as we've been quoting it, in the new normal?
Yeah, it's very interesting because I think that this whole pandemic has really caused a disruption to our industry. Mm-hmm. And we're so caught up in the idea of what great service is, and that even though we have these barriers of masks and plexiglass, I think for us, we've got to change our mindsets around trying to manage around that. I've always believed that great customer service is about emotional connections with the guest, and it's about experiences. And if we really think about hotels, it really is more than just heads and beds. It's about creating an experience for the guests so that with every associate they interact with, they feel a connection to the hotel, and that's emotionally based. So whether it's a mask or a plexiglass, that experience still stands, I feel. I think that our guests want to see that we're taking measures to protect them. I think when they come into a hotel and they see our associates wearing masks, it actually indicates to them that we're taking this very seriously. And yes, a smile indicates warmth and engaged service, as well as, I want to serve you, and welcoming, and all of those things. A smile is universal, but I really do think you can see a smile in the eyes as well. So I think our associates just need to be more creative. And if you really think about it, it's going to require us to be more conscious of making or building these relationships with guests and creating an experience for them.
What has changed in the hotel since COVID started then?
Yeah, so lots of changes. We started to realize that this was serious when we started to see cancellations in our properties. The lack of confidence of a traveler getting on a plane, visiting our hotel, it started to cause cancellations in big groups. And at first we thought, oh, this is just temporary, it's only going to last a month. And then obviously you look at the numbers worldwide and you realize, okay, this could be very serious. So, as a result of that, our hotels were faced to having to react to that. We try our best to recover as much business as possible. So even if it's not now, let's talk about later on, so we are now preparing reopening, even though it's on minimal occupancy. But what we've instituted is very heightened health and safety standards. Health and safety has always been a focus for our associates and our guests, but it's now to the level of hospital grade sanitation and cleanliness. So there's a lot of retraining with our associates around understanding the importance of cross-contamination and how to prevent the spread of this virus. So we had to educate, and we designed a training program around that. So our associates are now coming in, they're doing a whole reorientation and understanding these protocols so that we can show to the guests that we're taking this very seriously. In some areas, and obviously you see this in grocery stores and in drugstores and so on, there's markers on the floor about physical distancing. Some areas require masks, which is mandatory. Our associates are wearing masks at this point, although a lot of them are finding it very hard to interact with the guests. We're trying to work around that. And of course, if it's a Marriott standard, then we're obliged to meet that standard. There are some of our areas that have plexiglass. Housekeeping, huge. They're instituting electrostatic sprayers, anything that's common in the guest room that's shared, such as cushions, pens, paper pads, all removed. So it's really challenging us to kind of look at how we do our work tasks differently, with keeping health and safety top of mind.
How are you finding employees reacting to those changes?
I think it's human nature. Change is hard for people, especially if you've been in this industry a very long time and you've got set in your mind what service is and how we deliver it. And it's trying to change those ideas and those paradigms. So I think, with a little bit of fear, because I think the whole world is somewhat afraid, with that, having to manage the fear and then coming in and having to change how we do things, it could be stressful, right? But I do believe our associates, they're committed to the industry. They believe in the industry, so they will do what they can to help us recover and rebuild from this. And I feel that leadership, it's very important for them to be transparent, to communicate, and of course, we know that engagement of our staff is huge when it comes to the guest experience, right? So we've got to really make sure that our associates are feeling like they're still adding value, because they're the key to making sure that this industry recovers.
Absolutely. I agree. We mentioned a little bit earlier, hospitality is really about creating experiences. How can this happen when hotels are no longer able to provide the same level of service as before?
Experiences, I think we really have to define, like, what is an experience for the guests when they come and visit a hotel. I think it's unique for every guest, quite honestly. And we have different guests that come visit us. So we have the leisure traveler, we've got the business traveler. So first and foremost, really get to know your guests, get to know what their needs are. And, it's like anything. I think a guest, as long as they feel that we care about them, that we want to create a great experience for them. I think that's what great service is all about. And great experiences isn't transactional. So the process of a check-in and making sure that they're in the correct room that they've booked and all that, that's all transactional. That's basic. And I think the guest really expects those basics in place, like health and safety protocols are now basics in place. And first and foremost, if we don't meet that, then the experience is affected by that, right? And if you take a practical example, like in the restaurant, if a guest goes and has a meal, if the food does not taste good, there's nothing that will change that experience. So you've got to really meet the basics. And I also feel that great service is about an individualized approach to every guest. If you treat every guest the same, then that's not going to create an emotional connection.
Are there specific things that you've changed in terms of how customer service is delivered then? Anything more specific?
Yeah, one of the things that as a trainer that I try to encourage our associates to do is to really pay attention. I think it's easy when you've done the same job for a long time to get robotic, to get autopilot. And to be very present with the guest, I think that's going to be much more needed now. Because even though you're wearing a mask, and even though they don't see your smile as obvious if you're not wearing a mask, it's going to require you to really look at them and make eye contact. It's going to require you to ask more questions and to listen more and to be empathetic. So I think it's actually becoming more of a conscious level of service and to really be more attentive to that interaction with the guest. So, I think it's good in a way, because once we recover from all of this, I think it's really going to heighten our standard of service.
We've heard a lot about self check-ins and people checking in on their own without having to deal with anybody up front. Do you think that may go as far as us communicating and working with robots in the future in customer service?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've attended a lot of conferences, read a lot of articles around that. And, there are hotels in Japan that are already doing this. And because of this pandemic, we're encouraging more no-touch service. Now, if we go back to what I said earlier around the transactional level of service that we give, the check-in process or placing the bill on the table, all those things can easily be automated. I don't think robots are going to come to North America for a while, maybe not even in our lifetime. But I do think that we are moving more towards automation for the transactional pieces of service. So like, for example, I have not seen a bank teller in years.
Right.
Because the convenience of being able to do your banking online and transfer money and pay your bills and all of that actually gives me more time to spend doing more important things. So the way I see automation being a positive in our industry is that it will give our associates more time to spend with the guest and to create that experience and interact with them and get to know them. So I always say to associates, when it comes to the things that are very task oriented, very automated, you need to get creative and you've got to put the interpersonal art of service into every interaction you give to the guest or you have with the guest, because all that stuff will easily be automated.
Right. That's such a great way to look at it. I always look at, robotics kind of in a negative way. Are we getting lazier with the less we have to do? But that's a really positive, great way to look at it, that, it gives us more time to spend with the customer.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of hotels out there that are actually doing away with the front desk, right? Where the guest traditionally comes in, they approach the front desk to go through the transaction of checking into the hotel. And now they have pods where the agents are now, walking around the lobby more and, and finding out from the guests what brings you to Toronto, for example. What can I book for you? What kind of food do you like? And being more of that kind of individualized approach, right, to the service, and to be like a personal butler or concierge, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel guests are looking for. They're looking for unique experiences. They're looking for connections with people. And I really do think that, guests who are well-traveled, they want to be able to sit at the bar and engage in a conversation with the bartender, and get to know the bartender and create friendships, if you will, if you want to think of it that way. So I think staying in a hotel is just going to be more, because people's time is precious. So make it worth my while to be here.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, make it worth my while. I want to learn something new.
Yeah.
I want to learn about the local community and what's going on, what makes Toronto special, what makes staying in this hotel special. Give me something to go home with.
What, in your opinion, are hotels doing to keep workers safe at this time?
Yeah, I think like anything, when you conduct intensive training about anything, that could be service, it could be health and safety, it could be anything, it shows that the company is taking this seriously. So, when our associates come to work, they actually complete a screening questionnaire around, they have to answer some questions. And if they experience any symptoms, like a cough or sneezing, or they're not feeling well, then they're not working that day. We also do thermal checks. So we take their temperature as well. And if they're past the expected level and they have a fever, then we send them home. So we don't, allow people to work if they're feeling sick. So we take that very seriously. And then it's being transparent and communicating with the associate what we're doing in the hotel to ensure their safety, but the guest safety as well. So we've got some protocols around how many people in the locker room at a given time, how many people in the staff cafeteria at a given time. And then every morning, obviously, there's the shift briefing. So the manager speaks to the associates about what's going on. So I really think that all of those things that we do to communicate shows our commitment. And therefore, the associate hopefully feels confident, coming into work.
So what would you say to guests who are afraid to return? Because that might be a big one. A lot of people holding off on that.
Yeah.
Because of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're very fortunate to partner with great brands like Marriott and Hilton and Sheraton that have really put some programs in place and standards in place to ensure the guest safety. It's impressive what Marriott has come up with their program, the Commitment to Clean program. So again, I think that with our guests, we've just got to assure them and to also communicate what it is we're doing. And I also think when guests come into the hotel and they see associates taking this seriously, then it makes the guest feel confident because the associate is taking it seriously, right? So I think in time, and there is that air of fear out there, I think in time, the guest is going to feel more confident about traveling again.
Coming from the background I come from, when we look at a camera, we're to imagine someone we really love on the other end of it. Are there any techniques like that to think of?
Yeah, I think like anything, to get comfortable with anything, you just have to immerse. You just got to get into it. You got to do it. And practice interacting with the guest behind a mask, practice interacting with the guests behind the plexiglass or the other side of the plexiglass, because it's like anything, when you do it more often, you get more comfortable. So, but avoiding it is not going to help. So I think that the sooner that we can all adapt, the better an experience we can offer for the guest.
What would you say to workers who might be afraid to return? You kind of covered it a little bit with the support and everything, but it is a real thing for people that are going back.
Yeah.
What would you say to them to help ease that?
Well, one of the things that I want to communicate to all of our associates is that we value you as a hospitality professional, and we want nothing more than to get you all back working as soon as possible. And in order for you to feel comfortable coming back to work, here's what we're doing. The associate, anybody could refuse work that they see as unsafe. I think that's a fair statement. That's in accordance to our health and safety policy, right? But like anything, if an associate feels unsafe, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it is that you're not feeling safe about. I don't think we can force the issue, but I would hope that we've developed enough trust with our associates that they trust us as a company, trust us as a management team, that we've got their safety top of mind. Okay. And we always have.
Right.
So, how they respond, I don't know. I can't control that, but I want them to feel assured. So we as a company have to do everything we can to help them feel assured and comfortable to come to work.
And like you said earlier, that transparency probably plays a big role in that too.
Huge for trust. Huge,
What happens now? Where do we go from here?
I know. All I have to say is that this experience and this pandemic is really challenging our resilience. And, what keeps me going is believing, and I'll always believe this, that this industry is a great industry. Let's face it. Traveling is living. I think there are going to continue to be people that are going to want to travel and explore, and we need to be together. This is just the social condition. So where do we go from here? I think we just need to keep at it and manage around this pandemic and not get caught up with, well, it's not the same it has been in the past.
Right.
It's really challenging us to reinvent ourselves, to, still believe that the industry is an exciting industry, but maybe how we do things might have to change. So I think the quicker that we can adapt to change, the better it will be as an industry. And I think it's heartbreaking for a lot of us because we're in this industry because we're passionate about it, and we love it. We love to serve. We love shaking hands with the guests. We love giving hugs and all those things that are so natural for humans, right? So I think that if we continue to believe that this is still a thriving industry and it will, continue to be thriving, we'll get there. We'll get there. But the key is the people working in it have to really believe that. So the positive I see out of this is it's really going to force us to be very committed to cleanliness and sanitation. I don't think that's going to go away. I think that's still going to continue. That's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. So one last one. Would you, coming out of that, feel that a lot of the hotels and the people that you've been talking to and other properties and things like that are seeing this as an opportunity for change in a positive sense, that we can take this and make something really great?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anything in life, you've got to see it as an opportunity. When you're set back by anything, when you're faced with adversity, the best and most healthy way to look at it, it's getting a perspective that, okay, what can come out of this? What is the opportunity here? Because if you get caught up with, it's not going to be the same, no one's going to travel, and you get negative, then you're only going to feed into that belief, right?
Right.
But I think as an industry, we have to believe that, yeah, we are going to recover from this. Who knows how long it's going to take? But we can focus our energies on positive things. Like one of the things that I'm doing right now is working with the college, the hospitality students that are graduating. They're thinking, boy, what kind of industry did I get into? I'm graduating this year. But I'm like, no. You are the key to the future here. Okay, so you got to look at this as, what is the opportunity now? And how can I contribute to this in a positive way to help this industry continue to thrive? It's a very different mindset versus getting caught up in the negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And your energy is different. Your excitement's different when you think that way.
Absolutely. That's a great message to be sending out to those coming into the industry right now. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure it's got to be so daunting for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they chose to study this because of what they know about hospitality and hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, a lot of hotels are closed or now reopening, but very minimal staff. Okay, but again, believing that we will get through this. And by the time they graduate and they get out, they're going to be at the peak of their career. They're going to be able to make some great things happen in this industry, I believe.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting to think about. We need to hang on to that and keep moving forward with it for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Jane, thank you so much for taking the time to answer my questions. This has been really great time with you.
Well, it's been awesome for me because, when I talk about this, I get more excited.
Yeah.
I get more optimistic, and I feel that there's some light at the end of the tunnel, so.
Happy person. Oh, we're back. Oh. Hey there, everybody. Well, there you have it. Some really great information from our good friend Jane over at Larco Hospitality. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a comment below. Also, if you have any ideas, something you'd like to see on this show, please give us a shout. Let us know, and we'll see what we can do to get it on here. Well, that's all from us here at the Hospitality News Network this week. Hospitality News for the new normal. I'm your indelible host, Adrian Przowski. And we could use a hug, right? So hug yourself, hug a friend, hug a pet, maybe even hug a family member. But just remember, if you're still isolating, do it virtually. Take care, everybody. See you here again real soon. Bye-bye.